The story of Virginia Giuffre's car crash in rural Australia uh, is complex, and there seems to be differing accounts and questions about whether it really happened. Virginia Giuffre's name, this name, which has over the past decade become synonymous with high profile legal entanglements and abuse allegations, and this tragedy and controversy, and a near fatal collision with a school bus where the school bus doesn't seem to register in the account to any degree, which has generated international headlines, not because of its scale, but because of its inconsistency, and because of the way in which Giuffre's personal credibility is once again the subject of public scrutiny. And the internet has been awash with stories about who could have caused this crash. I don't think that's really the story that. I don't think really that's the question that should be asked. The question that perhaps should be asked, and dare I even voice it, is whether this story is completely or in part fabricated. And if this is not entirely truthful, are any of the other stories entirely truthful? On the 24th of March 2025, in near Gabby, north of Perth, Giuffre claimed she was in a vehicle struck by a school bus travelling at significantly high speed. The crash, she said, left her with such severe injuries that she went into kidney failure and had only 4 days to live. She shared a bruised and battered photo on Instagram, later described by her representatives as intended for a private audience. The school bus driver, Ross Munns, perhaps now unwillingly has become part of this global narrative, has told a completely and markedly different story. And according to Munns, the crash was minor. He continued his route with 29 uninjured children on board and didn't consider the collision serious enough to warrant even a photograph for insurance purposes. Western Australian police confirmed the crash had occurred, but described it as minor, and no reported injuries and damage was registered. I think there was about £2,000 Australian dollars worth of damage at the very most. The chasm between the accounts filed publicly and Virginia Giuffre's accounts that have dominated the newspapers is huge. Life-threatening renal failure versus a routine roadside scuff. It's provoked considerable skepticism. It's not just discrepancy in detail, it's a collapse of the narrative coherence. And when a figure as publicly polarised as Giuffre asserts imminent death, only to have her version so flatly contradicted by the police and an unimpressed bus driver, public trust inevitably erodes. It's like Cleopatra claiming that she was dead and in her monument, just simply to get attention from I was going to say from Andrew. In that particular Shakespearean case, it's from Antony. And the context matters. Giuffre is not a private citizen in the ordinary sense. She has already been at the centre of one of the most significant scandals, trafficking scandals indeed, in modern history, having accused both Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew of abusing her when she was 17. And while she's reached an out-of-court settlement with the Duke of York in 2022, that case didn't resolve the public's divided perception of her as either a victim or an opportunist. And now we have another story coming out, and the same question is being floated. And complicating matters further is Giuffre's current legal standing. On the 2nd of February, just a few weeks before the crash, she allegedly breached a family violence restraining order taken out by her estranged husband, and she appeared in court in March and is due to appear on April the 9th. And her husband, Robert Giuffre, also faces charges, including unsafe firearm storage and reckless driving. There's a sort of theme here, isn't there? Her Instagram post, though now said to have been accidentally shared, suggest a woman in crisis, estranged from her children, feeling unheard and victimized and experiencing profound emotional and physical distress. Her claim that she is ready to go, just not until I see my babies one last time, is less a medical diagnosis than a cry of desperation. One cannot dismiss that entirely, regardless of the factual dispute. So what are we supposed to make of this saga? Is Guiffre exaggerating her injuries, manipulating media sympathy ahead of a court date, or genuinely facing a private health and family crisis now unfairly amplified by her notoriety? Or indeed, is she facing, as she claims, death? There are 4 competing truths at play: the police record, Guiffre's lived emotional reality, the court of public opinion, and the testimony of the bus driver. And perhaps most provocatively, this episode illustrates or illuminates the problem of credibility in a world where the personal is now public and victims are relentlessly scrutinized. Guiffre's long struggle against power, be it the power of Epstein or Prince Andrew or her estranged husband, has always relied on the delicate moral economy of being believed. But now it appears that very economy is turning against her. And, dare I say it, she is not believed, or she is not believable anymore. And if she's not believed now, should she ever have been believed? It's a serious and a weighty question. Virginia Giuffre's car crash is more than a physical event. It's a symbol of the collision between trauma, reputation, and media narrative, and whether her latest claims are exaggerated or misunderstood, they reaffirm that those who stand at the centre of scandal must carry their burden in perpetuity, long after the courts have adjourned. The case reminds us not to look at what is said, but why it's said, how it's received, and who gets to decide whether a woman's pain, and there's no doubt at all that Virginia Giuffre is in serious pain, whether her pain is real, whether it's theatrical, whether it's simply inconvenient, or indeed whether it is fatal. We don't know. At the moment, this is an uncertainty, and there's only one photograph. And that photograph is a photograph which was described as private and has somehow become public. But shrouding the story is the alluring patina of deceit. Deceit by whom? That's too soon to tell.